So, we're beginning short fiction, and I choose two stories with child protagonists, and I just gave one of the answers away for Isaac. The Schmoop website is what a lot of students use to plagiarize, so don't copy and paste from there. But it also contains some sort of cartoony, light videos on explaining different literary genres and things like that. And I think that this video will be helpful, and it's transcribed down at the bottom so you can go back to it. The main thing you have to know about short stories, like the video says, is that they're short. It's a single incident in the most important part of the characters' lives. I had a student once say, the difference between a short story and a novel is there's no extra junk in short stories. Novels are not supposed to have extra junk, but I knew what the student was saying, right? That these stories are a snapshot of the most important incident or the most important emotional moment or spiritual moment, if you will, of the characters' lives. So the protagonist is not necessarily always the hero, but the protagonist is the one that changes, or the one that is affected, or the one that has to overcome some emotional problem. And here, through the eyes of these two, and I hate to say children because they're old enough to have a crush. One character, Araby, has a crush on a neighbor, a friend's sister, and the other character, Charlie, is going to meet his father for the first time in New York and find out what kind of person he is, and find out if he wants to spend any more time with him. So anyway, that being said, I want you to explore these two short stories, and they're both from vastly different geographical areas. And what you need to know about Ireland is, especially around this time that James Joyce wrote, it was very depressed, very dark, very poor, and a lot of depression, like I said, and a lot of spiritual relief came from relying on something other than the material, right? Because of the fact that fantasy is the one thing we count on to take away from reality, but spirituality is the thing we count on so our fantasies won't hurt us. Sounds a little religious. But anyway, so to have that background, what you need to know about Reunion is simply that in the time of this short story and today, New York is the center of business. It's the center of sort of hustling and bustling of the city, and the idea of pushing back against that and saying that there are more important things than dominating your environment around you, and feeling better than, and feeling kind of this superiority to things that we always feel in competition of, right? So it's interesting, the titles of these stories. Araby is not a title that you look at and go, oh, okay, I know what that means, right? And I'll leave that up to you to find. But reunion means you've met once and you're reunion, right? A union is a bond, is together, right? And a reunion, means to do it again. So the questions you want to answer in the discussion board, and remember, you can be kind of accused of plagiarism if you copy somebody else's discussion. If you do want to comment specifically on what somebody said, put their words in quotes, okay? Because I think not a lot of teachers tell you this, but it is plagiarizing to take other students' work from their discussion boards and call it your own. So be careful of that, right? Now, you want to give a full initial response by Wednesday night, and what does that mean? How much is the length? I said in the explanation 250 words or so, but what I'm really looking for is for you to react or respond to this material, whether it be short stories or the poetry, in a way that I see that you're trying to disseminate the meaning the author's trying to convey to you, and also how you're taking the meaning, because you're participating in these short stories, right? You're part of this. A short story falls in the woods, no one hears it, right? Unless somebody is reading it. I still have jet lag. So the idea here, once again, is for you to have an experience with this author as if you're sitting there having a reunion or a union for the first time, and trying to relate, identify. And what are we trying to relate or identify with? Is the human condition. And literature is about the mystery and the complications and the joys and the sorrows and all the emotions that come with it of what makes us human, right? And what does make us human is the ability to study these conditions, adjust conduct accordingly, learn from our experiences, and animals do that too. But I've never looked out the window at GCC and saw a squirrel running around and said, wow, that squirrel has low self-esteem, right? That squirrel feels different than all the other squirrels. That squirrel is experiencing alienation. And you can tell by the way he's communicating to me that he feels self-centered fear, or that he's having a spiritual experience, or that he is connecting to nature in such a way that he feels like he's part of the whole totality of things. These are all human conditions, right? So what we're trying to do in the next 4 weeks and 4 days is trying to identify these patterns of what it is to be human through the writer's take on this, but also what it means to be human to us, right? So the great universal language of literature is, you're reading about a boy in Dublin, Ireland. Now, I know some of you might have been to Dublin, Ireland, but I've been to Dublin, Ireland twice. But if you've never left Los Angeles or never left Glendale, you can still relate to the human disappointment in this case, not all cases, of having your first crush on somebody and realizing the impossibility of that, right? That disappointment. Now, maybe you had a crush on somebody in 4th grade and you married them and you're married today or whatever. But for most of us, my first crush was Teresa Tomeo, 2nd grade. She did like me for about 3 weeks, and then she decided to play kickball with the other crowd and left our crowd. So I was heartbroken. So that's the same, right? And the idea of how we look at adults here. So adults are portrayed in the story in a very specific way. How are they portrayed in the story? Well, they're broken. And how are they broken, right? Did you relate at all in your own experiences with adults growing up? So did you see broken adults as a child and say, that's, right? I don't think I want to be that way. Or the fact that adults are in my way of me getting what I want or having fun. So ask yourself that too. And also the idea of responding to two others after you answer these questions. And again, discussion boards are not, oh, I have 5 minutes, I better do the discussion board, I'm out of here. Discussions are really asking questions, finding the response that you don't understand and asking more questions. I don't understand what you meant by this comment. Are you saying? I'd like to hear more about this, right? But also the idea of, I didn't see this story this way, I saw it this way. Because of the freedom and the fear of literature that you have as students, is that if you can prove it in the text, it's not 2 + 2 = 4, it's never 5, unless you're reading Orwell. It's the idea of literature is, if you can prove it in the text, you can have a totally different take than I did on the story and still be equally as valid. There's no more correct than others take on any of this, if you can prove with confidence in the text that this could be a reading of this, right? And another danger is, and I'll leave you with this, is that you look up what the author meant and then you say the author meant this, right? The author has little to do with the meaning that takes place in the human condition once we set stories out there, once we write poems out there. That the intent of the author, there is an intent, I'm going to try to do this, but there's also a different relationship that takes place with you as you read it that may have nothing to do with the author, right? So the intentional fallacy that we talk about in literature classes is the fact that you confuse the meaning with the author's intent only, right? Or that I in poetry, we'll see later on, means the poet. That this is a universal sort of mystery we're trying to solve together. So you're like literature detectives, going in, looking for clues, right? Seeing what words mean to you, right? What does alienation mean to you? It means there's a nation of aliens somewhere. Well, that's 2 words. So let's look at these stories, and do not be afraid of voicing your opinions out there in discussion boards. The LISIC, at least you should know about literature. That's what LISIC means. At least you should know anyway. The idea of that is more specific, but these discussion boards are finding out, a discovery of this. So you want to try things out. You want to ask questions. You know, it's not, oh, I'm glad I read that quick and I know what it means, right? There's always more you can explore within yourself and in the author to get a little glimpse, a little deeper into the human condition. So if you are interested and still listening to me after 13 minutes and 36 seconds, then you may want to become an English major. I highly recommend it because you get to make videos like this, you get to read stories like this, and generally you get to be exposed to places and people and times that you never would have discovered had you been a business major. Nothing against business majors. I'm teaching a business course right now. Okay. More will be revealed. Stay dry and jump in.